welcome. If you're a new viewer, thank you for giving this podcast a go. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back and thank you for joining me again. I am Celine and I'm coming to you from Hong Kong. I can be found on Ravelry as Ochia, O-C-H-Y-A, on Instagram as basic.stitch.knitting, and I have a Ravelry group under the name Basic Stitch Knitting Podcast. I will have information in the info box down below and also in the Ravelry group. The difference being that in the Ravelry group sometimes the show notes will be a little bit more comprehensive, just a little bit more, just to make sure you go over there, not just stay here, and join the Ravelry group because I love numbers. Just kidding. Today, before talking about a nitty bit, showing you the things I've been knitting in the past 2 weeks, there are 3 things I like to address first. 1, I'm going to have a giveaway. 2nd, I'd like to talk about a decision I made about this podcast. A small one, don't worry. And the 3rd thing I want to talk about will be my yarn dyeing experiment, so stay tuned if you're interested. So first thing first, giveaway. It's not actually the first thing because I will only talk about the rules later on, because the giveaways is actually a thank you gesture for people who watch the podcast. So it makes sense, right? So last I checked, this podcast has more than 250 subscribers. Thank you for your support. So as a gesture of gratitude, I decided to hold a giveaway. This is not the kind of podcast that has a lot of giveaways just because I'm quite limited when it comes to access to beautiful yarn that I know the online community, the podcast communities are obsessed with. I am not too big on that, but I still want to make sure there's a way for me to show my gratitude, that you know that I am very happy and grateful for your support. So to keep the administration easy, the prize will be 2 paid-for patterns from Ravelry. And in order to participate in the giveaway, please continue to watch the podcast and I will talk about it sometime later. The second thing I'd like to talk about is a very small decision I made about this podcast. And that is, I'm not going to name the future episodes, including this episode, because it doesn't bother me. I know there are people who like to name their episodes. I know there are people who enjoy the process, but for me, I just don't care about that. I mean, because I talk about different things in a podcast and it's hard to just find one thing to decide the title, which is, and I don't think it's necessary for me. I know minimalism is a buzzword and I want to avoid using that because it's cringy. Everybody talks about minimalism today. But I have been wanting to live quite a minimalist life since like 2008 or 2007 when I first found this book called Enough. I don't remember the author. In the school library, and I read about it, and I read a Japanese magazine about life, about simplicity of life, about the art of throwing away things, and it just fascinates me. And one by one, I was attracted by different kind of minimalism. One that is owning less, owning fewer things, and sometimes it's about a style, not having too much distraction in your style, and sometimes it's about focusing on the best thing in your life. And it has been a really important part of my life because whatever I do, I always reevaluate my life, reevaluate the way I work, the way I do things, and think about, is there anything that I can cut out? Is there anything that is unnecessary? Do they make me happy? If anything is not necessary, I don't keep it. And to me, naming the episode is unnecessary. I'm sorry if you love the names of episodes, but I don't care for it. I don't care about it. So I'm not doing anything other than numbering my episode. I can't believe I just wasted a lot of time talking about something that doesn't bother anyone, I don't think. So I'll go on and talk about the third thing, which is my yarn dyeing experiment. Where is it? It's here. So last week, or last 2 weeks, I don't remember when, I decided to dye yarn for the first time. It's just for fun. It's not like I wanted to launch a business. But, you know, I figure I've been watching a lot of yarn dyeing tutorials just for fun, and I've watched enough. Ideally, I can dye my yarn with acid dye, which is the commercially available acid dye that is very vibrant on the yarn, and it stays with the yarn if it's fully absorbed to the yarn. But I don't have that, and it takes time for it to ship to Hong Kong, and it's expensive. I check with dharmatrading.com, I believe. The yarn, I mean, the price of the shipping is similar or not, you know, if not more than the cost for buying the kind of dye I would like to have. So I decided to just buy some food coloring from the supermarket, and I think it's the best for a beginner because I don't want to buy a whole set of different pots and spoon and, you know, mask and everything just for my first experiment. I want to be able to still use the pot for cooking after dyeing my yarn. So I decided to use food coloring to dye my yarn. And the food coloring I use is this. This is a Essential Waitress Natural Red food coloring, and I've used quite a bit of it. And let me tell you, it's not that good. I mean, I've watched a lot of food coloring and Kool-Aid yarn dyeing tutorial, and a lot of them, especially for the food coloring, usually the tutor would say, be really gentle and very careful and conservative about how much of dye, like food dye, you are putting into the yarn or the pot, because this stuff is strong. Start with 3 to 4 drops of color. So I did it. Ended up, I probably had to put 40 plus 2 cap of this to actually color the yarn. And when I say color, it's like a very, 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 very faint hint of pink on the yarn. I don't know what's wrong with this. Maybe this, tissue paper. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, a small accident there, but it doesn't really bother me because the color is not potent at all. This one is so impotent that it can get on any surface and be washed away easily. So I dyed 2 skein of yarn. Each skein is a 50-gram ball of Drops Fable in its natural color. But today I can only show you one, which is the second skein of yarn I dyed because the first one is still wet. Yesterday I decided to just sprinkle a little bit of this impotent red food coloring here and there on the yarn and see if it improves, because it's so pale that it looks like it's undyed anyway. So I'll just do something to it and see if it creates all kind of like, you know, like spackly effect, hopefully. I'm not sure, but a bowl of Drops Fable is quite cheap, so I don't feel like I'm actually, you know, losing a lot. But I have my second skein here, which actually I'm quite happy. I mean, it's not something I would expect before, you know, the first skein, but after understanding how impotent this food coloring is, this actually surprises me. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's a very pretty dusty roast. Can you see it? I like it. I was thinking about needing a pair of very romantic, lacy socks in it originally, but now I only have 50 gram of it. I'm not sure. Like, I will need to wait and see how the first skein of yarn turned out, and if it's good, I can alternate the yarn, the first skein of yarn, which is hopefully spackly, with this so that I can knit 2 skein of yarn, and oops, it just unwound against my will. And excuse me for my very amateurish attempt to wind my skein of yarn. You can see I don't really use this guys a lot. Okay, whatever. It's okay. The first 3 things I want to address before the needy bits is done. So now I'm going to talk about my finished objects. So this episode I have 2 finished objects, and the first one is this. Finally! This is a pair of socks I knit for the brother, and it is knit out of Job's Fable Shoreline, I believe. I've actually said this a couple of times in this podcast, but I still don't remember the name of the colorway. It's another beautiful colorway from Job's Fable. It has different shades of blue that I love. I just love the color blue, although this is not for myself. This is for my brother. Can you see how big it is? Yeah, I don't have a sock blocker, and I wonder if I will ever buy one because I don't block my socks. I don't really block a lot of things. I don't even weave in ends. Well, okay, this is for my brother, so I guess I will do it. I'll do it. The thing is, it's so hot now in Hong Kong. I don't think it will get worn until next winter, which is a year away from this. What a good timing to finish a pair of socks. I feel hot. Holding this already. This is another plain vanilla sock that I knit over and over again. Everybody seems to have their own sock recipe. A friend of mine just recently wanted to learn to knit a pair of socks, and she asked me the best way to knit a pair of socks, and I don't really have a solid answer for that because everybody starts somewhere and everybody starts differently. And it all works well for them, as far as I'm concerned. I started to learn how to knit cuff down, and then the first pair of socks I knit was like the kind of socks that with the heel flap, and then, heel turn gusset. I don't even know the terminology anymore because I don't do that anymore. And then I knit the foot and grafted with Kitchener stitch. I did it for the first pair of socks, and then I discovered Fish Lips Kiss Heel, and then from that onward I only knit with Fish Lips Kiss Heel. One day I discovered this toe up. The thing is, when you started to do cuff down, you always think toe up is going to be difficult because it feels like, when you learn how to recite from A to Z, suddenly you're required to recite from Z to A. There's just this mental block, it's gonna be difficult for you. I thought that was difficult, but then I just wanted to learn something new, so I learned to do toe-up socks, and it changed my life. I just don't want to do cuff down anymore, and it's not difficult at all. I still do Judy's Magic Cast On. I said this before in previous previous episodes, but just in case you haven't seen it, I'm going to keep it short. I do Judy's Magic Cast On, a very good cast on method, and then plain stockinette for however long it is, and then when the length of the foot hits the ankle of the intended recipient, I started to do Fish Lips Kiss Heel, and then more stockinette, and then 2x2 ribbing. Sometimes I do 1x1 ribbing, and Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind-off. Okay, that is my recipe right now. My second finished project is a hat. Well, actually, the ribbing is quite long, but it's supposed to be worn with the rib part folded in half. So let's see. Okay, this is a hipster way of wearing it, but you can definitely try to pull it down a little bit. Can you see it? Is it clear? Is the cable clear? Does it look weird? Alright. definitely too hot to wear a hat. Okay, so I knit this, and the blue part is Job's Charisma in the colorway dark gray blue number 37, and the teal part is West Yorkshire Spinners Blue Faced Leicester DK in the colorway teal. So you can see, apparently I'm doing a color blocking thing, and it is completely unintended. I started to knit in the navy color because I love navy, but I don't know what happened to me. I just knit and then realized I run out of the yarn. I don't have another skein of Charisma in the same color. Let me tell you what I was thinking. I thought, well, because I'm a navy girl, I bought a lot of yarn in navy color. I'm not sure if there's any. Like, you can see there's like some navy here already. But what I didn't expect is the navies, they all look different. Some is like more midnight blue-ish navy, some is just like darker, some is brighter. So I don't actually have an exact match. So decision-making time, I was thinking I either do like a gradient-ish blue, like a darker navy to a brighter navy, or I choose a completely different color for the color blocking. I wasn't sure about color blocking at the beginning because I'm not a very big color blocking person, especially when it has cable. Like, it has something going on already. I don't want to make it more interesting than that. If it's like a plain stockinette hat, maybe, but it has like very beautiful, intricate, not intricate, but beautiful and intricate to me cables already. So I'm not sure if I want to do the color blocking. So I just put it aside and think, should I continue to knit, or should I just order another skein of, you know, dark gray blue Jobs Charisma yarn and continue to knit only when it arrives. But I didn't want to stop. So I just decided to do, you know, color blocking. And I post a photo on Instagram asking for opinion. And I think teal is a popular color among those response on Instagram, and also among my own friends in, you know, WhatsApp group. I asked them on WhatsApp group. Yeah, I was originally thinking about having mustard color, because to me mustard color and navy, they go well with each other. My mom said white. I'm not, yeah, maybe. Mom was like, don't use the teal color, as in don't use the green color, because there is a saying in Chinese or just in Cantonese. I think only in Cantonese. It's like a, not a slang, but a saying. They say tai lok mo, as in wearing green hat. When you say somebody's wearing green hat, it means his or her spouse cheat on him or her. So she's like, don't choose green, you know, out of so many color. But I decided to use it. The boyfriend, well, I'm not really worried about that, so. And it's pretty, it's teal, not exactly green, right? Don't contradict me, you art student out there. No. So, yes, I'm actually very happy. And now let's talk about the pattern. The pattern is a free pattern, Lake Reed hat by Asita Krebs. 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 It's a free pattern and I am in love with it. First of all, it's well written. It's easy to understand. This pattern has written instructions as well as charts. So if you're a chart reader, good for you. And if you are, you know, if you don't read charts like me, it's fine. They're written very, very clear written instructions. I really like how it is not difficult. The cabling might look a little bit intimidating if you have never done any cabling. Let me show you here. But it actually is very easy. You only do like 2 different type of cabling throughout the whole pattern. So it's actually way easier than what it looks. And what I like about it also is that it has this thing called a faux cabling down here. Can you see it? It looks like it's twisted, but, well, it's twisted, but it's not cabling. It's a faux cabling. in the pattern, it says knit two together knit, like K2 TOG-K. I wasn't sure, like in the pattern it actually explains how you can do it, but I wasn't sure. I don't want to, interpret the pattern or the instruction wrongly, so I went on YouTube and searched K2 Talk K. But there isn't any tutorial on that particular name, I don't think. Well, if I remember any, I will just put it down in the link. Just check it out. So I did a little bit of Google search. Somebody actually asked the same question on knittingparadise.com. So anyway, if you are knitting this and if you're seeing K2 Talk K and you're not sure what it is alternatively called mock cable or faux cable or right twist, just in case you're interested in knitting this and you stumble across this. I just love this one. I mean, I finished this in a few days, I believe, and I just didn't want to stop because it's so addictive. It's easy, it's interesting, it keeps you interested. There are like different things, cabling, knit, purl, knitting through the back loops, and then faux cabling. Oh, and another thing I learned from knitting this hat is I learned how to decrease on the cable. Like you're doing the cabling while you're decreasing the stitches. And in the pattern, it calls it 2-stroke 2 KCR Talk. This is not the kind of name for cabling short forms abbreviation I used when I first learned to do cabling, but it's fine. It's really cute how you can just decrease the stitches while you're doing the cabling. It's not difficult at all. There are videos on it, so if you're interested in how to do decreasing when you are cabling, or you're just interested in knitting this hat, which is super, super nice, you can just check the link down below or in my Ravelry group. There is a thread for this episode. And I have ordered a pom-pom maker, and I'm still waiting for the pom-pom maker to arrive because this is a hat that will look so good with a pom-pom, don't you think? I'm definitely going to add a pom-pom to this hat. I've never made a pom-pom before, and to be honest, this is the second time I ever knit a hat. The first hat I ever knit was Hermione Hart Ron, or Ron Hart Hermione. I'm pretty sure it's Hermione Hart's Ron hat. I'll put a picture here, and it's a very beautiful cabley hat with eyelets, and supposedly it's going to be quite an easy knit, but to me, it kind of ruined my experience with cabling. Not because the cabling was difficult, it's just that I wasn't using the right needles. I was doing magic looping with that hat, and I wasn't using the right weight of yarn. I just jumped right in doing it and used whatever yarn was available. So I decided, I want to knit a hat. I want to have a hat for myself, or like I want to have a lot of hats for myself because it's a really good project. It's manageable. I love a manageable project that you can easily knit up, and also you can knit a lot of different things on it. They're all sort of different hats, like cabley hats, or hats just, play with knit and purl to produce a lot of different patterns, and also stranded knitting hats like a babble hat. I'm totally knitting that, and I wanted to become a hat knitter. So I specifically bought myself a pair of circular needles that are good for hat knitting, and this is it. Look at how cute they are. Ding dong. So this is Haya Haya, very famous blue. Haya Haya 5mm or US size 8 Haya Haya sharp needles, and this is 40 centimeter long. I just checked it online to check the invoice. I bought this from Darren Moore's online. One thing I don't like about this is because it doesn't have the length of the cord on the needle. It has Haya Haya sharp 8 or everything here, but it doesn't say 40 centimeters, so I had to go online to check it, which is something I like about the Eddie Turbo, or I don't remember which one, but the Eddie needles with the red cord, it has every information on it, so it's easy. It also has it on the cord, so it's more difficult to rub it off. I've heard that sometimes if you have any like marking on the needles, it could easily rub off. So I always keep them in the package it comes in with. It's really cute. Oh, I really like working with this when I'm knitting a hat. But when I first started to knit with it, I feel a pain, not a very serious pain, but a little bit of pain at the base of my thumb. And I guess it's because it's like so short. Do you have any idea how short it is? I'm going to make a comparison. This is another Haya. It's Haya short US 4.5. This is 5. And this is how much longer, like the needle. Right. Can you see? Yep. That's a very fair comparison because they are both Haya, as you can see from the blue cord, sky blue cord. So yeah, at the beginning I was like, probably I was using too much force because usually I have like other fingers on a needle. I don't really need to use my thumb that much, but I just get used to it. I mean, like I consciously relax the thumb, which makes it easier to knit. Love it. When I start to decrease the stitches, I kind of have to turn back to magic looping because this is again too fiddly when it has too little stitches on it. So I had to do magic looping using another needle. It's like a longer Haya cable needle. I mean a longer Haya circular needles with longer cord. But it was actually quite fiddly as well. And it was the first time, I swear, in my life that I wish I had DPNs. Okay, it was just too hot in this room and it became a little bit unbearable, so I have just turned on the fan, so you might be hearing a little bit of, or a lot of, the sound of the wind. Please excuse me because it's really hard to continue without having the fan on. I tried the AC and it was even louder than the fan, so I just have to live with it. This pattern requires tubular cast on. To be accurate, it's a long tail tubular cast on. Trust me, I have been swimming in YouTube for tubular cast on tutorials forever. And none of them actually tell me, you know, how many type of tubular cast on there is, so I'm a little bit confused because the method they do it are so different. So apparently there is like long tail tubular cast on and there is provisional tubular cast on, I believe, that you have to use like a waste yarn. But according to this pattern, the pattern actually puts a link in the PDF linking to the tutorial teaching long tail tubular cast on. So that's a tutorial I used. And I don't know, it's supposed to be a very stretchy cast on, but you can see it flares out. It looks very messy. I'm not sure if it's the cast on or I have just done it in a messy way, because I admit I didn't do it in the best way possible, because this is the first time I succeeded in doing long tail cast on. And even though it looks a little bit wonky, I just don't want to rip it back and do it again because it's hard for me. Because in every long tail cast on videos, they always do like twisting and then say, oh, it looks like a purl stitch, right? And you do it again, oh, it looks like a knit stitch. So remember, this, you know, this is how you know whether you end with a knit stitch or a purl stitch. The problem with me is when I was doing the purl stitch or the knit stitch, they don't look like a purl stitch or a knit stitch to me at all. So when you have to be like, you know, calculating, oh, this is a knit, this is a purl, this is a knit, this is a purl, for like, you know, 200 or 130 stitches, it's just impossible for me. So, if you have any experience with, you know, tubular cast on, can you let me know if this is something that will go away with blocking? Because so far I'm not really thinking about blocking it, because when I'm wearing it, it will be folded in half, and also when I wear it on my head, it actually doesn't show, it doesn't look that wonky. But, you know, if it's like a sleeve or, you know, the leg of a sweater, I just kind of want to know if it's just how it will be forever. Because I know a lot of people love tubular cast on. I want to love it too. But they just don't look tidy to me. So let me know. One thing, you know, I'm not done with the Lake Reed pattern. Like, done, but not exactly done. Something that I really like about the pattern is it has nothing to do with the pattern. It has to do everything to do with myself. It reminded me of the first time I did cabling, which is like 2 years ago, I believe. Before I picked up knitting again, to me, when I see a cabling pattern, it feels like magic to me, you know. Like, how do you do the cabling? How do you do like the crosses, the eggs, or, you know, X's, or, you know, the swirling patterns? How? To me, you know, knitters who can do it has to be really, really advanced, or maybe they know magic. But I was a big YouTube watcher, so I saw this like cabling, you know, for a beginner video, and it teaches how to do cabling, and it looks so easy. It's not difficult at all. It's like, you know, cracking on the biggest secret of the knitting world, because to me, cabling just looked very, very advanced. So I actually followed the tutorial and made my first cabling swatch, and I, believe it or not, although I'm a thrower, like not throwing my yarn, but I throw things, I still have the swatches. And I remember how it gave me a lot of joy just knitting the swatches. I'm not a swatcher. I don't do swatches. But then when I begin knitting again, it gave me a lot of joy just to make a square of something. So this is the first cabling attempt I've ever made. It looks very wonky, you know, you can see the holes here on this stockinette stitch. I'm not sure if this is the first time I did stockinette stitch flat, but it definitely is the first time I did cabling, and also the first time I tried to block something out. And to me, back then, blocking things means you block thing into whatever size you want. If you want it to be big, just block it very aggressively, which is what I did. So it's very, very holy. But, well, I stand by my mistake. You know, everybody, all of us have to start somewhere. So this is the first basic cabling. And then I don't know which one I did first. I went on to do 2 different type of cabling. Can you, like this one, I believe it's like honeycomb cabling. Not sure. So proud of myself because I have not done any cabling since then. Well, other than the Hermione Heart Ron hat. But this looks very impressive. And then the third one is like, I really don't know what's the name of these cabling. I guess this one, I basically just downloaded a free Aran pattern sweater and then just took out a part of the panel and then just knit that kind of stitches. So beautiful. Oh, Celine! A pat on my shoulder. Love it. So, anyway, you know, knitting this Lake Reed cable hat reminds me of how I used to enjoy cabling. That's it for the finished object for this episode. And I have one work in progress, and this is a shawl called Campside Shawl by Alicia Plummer. And, I knit it with Drops Puna, so it has grown, not a lot since I first shown it. This red yarn here is holding a dropped stitch that I will deal with when I finish the whole project. I just don't have the energy to deal with it now. And then, since last time, I've actually bought some stitch marker. Very basic, but it works. You know, it's an upgrade from using a yarn, you know, a thread of yarn, a strand of yarn for stitch marker, but I really didn't mind. I still don't mind using the slip knot as stitch marker. I don't mind at all. But, you know, it's just an upgrade. It's cheap anyway. This is a shawl with a lot of holes, as you can see. And here on chart D, the holes are, you know, eyelets are getting more dense. And I'm making a mistake again, but I don't care because they are just holes. I love it. I love how it looks. I love eye holes. I actually love the pattern because it's very clear, it's very well written, and it's very rhythmic, but it is a little bit too repetitive, and I don't think I can go on knitting. I'm on chart D, which is the last chart, and you have to do chart D 4 times, and I have just done the 3rd time for chart D, and after that it will be just ribbed edging, just ribbing. The thing is, I don't think I have the willpower to continue chart D. I just want to jump right into the ribbing. It's not difficult, but then there's a lot of yarn over, knit together, knit one, yarn over, knit together, knit one. It's not difficult to remember, but if you're talking to somebody, or if you're watching a TV program while knitting with it, I make a mistake. I'm not sure about you. It's easy, but not something completely mindless. And when you have to do that for like 300 stitches a row, which is what I'm doing now, it's just getting a little bit too much. I really want to finish it because I love the look of it, the look of the shawl, and initially I really loved every part, the process of it as well, but now I just want to get it done. I just got stuck with the chart D. Chart D is not particularly bad. It's not worse than any other chart. It's just that I am now rushing towards the finishing line. I am now there, almost there, but not yet there. Should I complete it? I'm there already. Should I just continue to knit the 6 rows of 300 something stitches, which actually doesn't contribute a lot to the size of the shawl? Or do I jump right into the ribbing? Just want to say, I love it. I'm not bashing it. I love the pattern. I love the final product. It's just me. I lack the patience. Oh, and it smells like, I don't know, alpaca, because Puna is 100% alpaca. It says it's DK weight, I believe, which it doesn't look like DK weight at all. Sport weight, maybe? It smells very, can I say woolly? But it's different from the usual wool that I smell, but it smells good. Okay. I know a lot of people, I'm not sure if I talked about this before, I know a lot of people sniff their yarn, a lot of people are yarn sniffer, but I really am a yarn sniffer, and not just yarn sniffer, I'm a dog. I sniff everything. Like, strictly speaking, not everything, but smell is, among the most important sensory whatever for me, because I think I fell in love with my boyfriend because he smells nice, like, all the time. Not just the fragrance he's using, but, the hair and the skin or whatever, and like TMI, too much details, too much information, but, yeah, and I remember a few weeks ago, I, went into this grocery store that sells international food product, and when I went there, it smelled so nice. It reminded me of the time I spent when I was in Italy doing my exchange program, like, for a year. I can't recall if it's like the smell of my apartment or it's the smell of the supermarket in Italy. It just transported me back to that period of time where all I care about was like, oh, where do I travel next? So I had to buy something, and I saw this pack of coffee, grounded coffee bean, and it's made in Italy. It has Italian on it. It's biologica or biological, I don't remember, meaning organic. I bought it, even though I'm not like a grounded coffee bean person. I just bought it because the smell in the store reminded me of Italy, and I had to buy something Italy to bring that piece of Italy back home. I'm that kind of person. Like, give me something that smells nice. It doesn't have to be lavender. It has to be something that reminds me of something, and I'll buy things. I'm that kind of consumer. So that's the only work in progress I have. I have not cast on anything else. I wanted to cast on something, but I stumbled across some sort of difficulties, and I also wanted to make sure I finished the shawl, which I did not. I don't want to cast on new things because I know I will want to focus on that new things instead of working on this shawl, which I'm already reluctant to work on, but I need to work on it. Supposedly this is time for dream knitting, but my problem is I don't really have anything I want to knit now, because I actually had in mind the things I want to knit, but let me tell you why. So, okay, firstly, I wanted to knit Syncopation Adoration head by the one and only Stephen West. I've never knit anything by him before. And Syncopation Adoration head is a free pattern, and I kind of want to, test it out and see how I like his pattern. I know everybody loves him, and I think his Exploration Station shawl is beautiful. I wanted to start with Syncopation Adoration head because it's a brioche stitch head. I want to learn how to do brioche stitch. I don't know how to do it. I've watched a lot of video on it. So I downloaded the pattern and I read it, highlighted it, made notes, and I realized I don't really understand the pattern. And so for help, I went through the project page of those people who have finished knitting it, and I saw, people kind of say this pattern is actually more of a recipe than a pattern. There are things that people kind of have to change, and I wasn't sure if that's what I want to do. I don't want to, I don't want for my first brioche project, I don't want to be making changes. Like, I want to follow the pattern 100%. Does it make sense to you? Because this is the first time I did something new. And I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, this is a free pattern, but it also leads me to think, what about the paid-for pattern? Will it be the same? Will it allows a lot of interpretation? Will it, requires a lot of skills that the knitters already possess? If I don't know how to do brioche, how do I know how to make, like, adaptation to the patterns? I was a little bit disappointed, to be fair. So if you're a Stephen West fan and if you have knit a lot of things, tell me or let me know if, like, what his patterns are like. I know I can just purchase one and see, but then my next experience will tell you why I'm not doing it. Another thing I really wanted to knit, which I have been dream knitting forever because it is the first pattern I ever purchased. I love the aesthetics of the designer so much, and she is Alicia Plummer, which is the designer for this shawl, this Campside shawl. And the pattern I bought is called Thereafter. I'll put a picture of that here. I downloaded it, I printed it out, I read, again, made notes, I went through project pages. There are a lot of complaints against this pattern, and I regret to say I don't really understand the pattern. There are so many things I just don't understand. I wanted to, do a little bit of like tech editing, to make it a pattern that I myself understand, because I love the pattern. I mean, I love the end project. I love how the cardigan looks like, but I just don't understand the pattern. So I was like, it's like a, bumpy road in the last 2 weeks where I wanted to cast on something new, but the patterns just didn't work for me. So I don't have any newly cast on project. Plus, it's really hot in Hong Kong. And plus, recently I'm obsessed with this Netflix series. Not sure if it's just for Netflix, but I watched it on Netflix. My boyfriend was like, "Are you sure this is the best way you want to spend your time?" I don't know. It's Easter. Happy Easter holidays, by the way. I haven't said that. Here in Hong Kong, we don't celebrate it. I mean, Christian probably go to church, and other than that, I don't think this is a really big thing. Christmas is a big thing. It's a good commercial opportunity for like malls and shops. Chinese New Year is a big thing because we're Chinese. Easter, not so much. So is Easter a big thing over your country, over your place? Let me know. So what I'm trying to say is I don't have any newly cast on objects, and I need your help. And I'm going to wrap this SOS with candy wrapper, which is the giveaway. So basically, last check, I'm not sure if I said that just now, this podcast has more than 250 subscribers. Thank you very much. So as a gesture of gratitude, I decided to give away 2 paid for patterns from Ravelry. And the way you can participate is, first, subscribe to this channel if you have not, because this is basically a gift for my subscribers. So after subscribing to this channel, there are 2 ways you can do to enter into this giveaway. The first way is through Instagram, and the second way is through my Ravelry group. You just need to follow my Instagram account on basic.stitch.knitting and comment down below that particular post and tell me the name of that pattern and also the name of the designer. And if you like, tell me the yarn you would like to work with. And the second way is that there will be a thread on my Ravelry group. Go there and tell me the name again and the name of that designer and the yarn you like to work with. That's optional, the last one. But the name and the designer are not optional. And if you're doing it on Ravelry group, please also put a link to that pattern page so that it's easier for me to look at it. You can double your chance of winning by submitting through 2 different methods. You can reply to the IG post and also reply to the thread on Ravelry group once each. So you have 2 chances if you like to do that. I will choose randomly by random.org 1 winner from the Ravelry group and another winner from the Instagram post, and I will announce it in the next episode. If you're submitting through Instagram, be a follower, and if you're submitting through Ravelry, be a member of that group. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and good luck with it. So coming to the end of this episode, I'd like to talk about a little bit of my yarny exploration in Hong Kong. So more than 2 weeks ago, I went to this yarn store which carries their own line of yarn in Hong Kong, and that is KPC Yarn. I just went there and took a little bit of clips and sent it to Fatima from the Knit Knacker Netters podcast. So if you're interested in seeing how that store actually looked like, if you have heard about this brand, you can head over to Fatima's podcast. I believe it's episode 15. So last time I went there, I actually bought 2 skein of yarn. These are the babies I bought from them. This is not the regular yarn they carry. I think they carry 4 different type of yarn. This is definitely not their regular yarn. According to them, every month or every once in a while, KPC will release a different blend to test the response from the market, and they are on sale. So this is originally 60 Hong Kong dollars, which is like £6 each. DK weight, but it's on sale and it's 30 Hong Kong dollars, so half that price. It's a Lovat, L-O-V-A-T DK, 92% cotton, 5% cashmere, and 3% silk for the Donegal. It's called Morning Mist for this, and this one is the same, but it's called flannel. It's 50-gram ball each, and it has 114 meter or 125 yards. And so they are both in gray. This is lighter gray and this is darker gray, and it has a little bit of speckles, not speckles, but tweedy effect on it. It has like some sky blue, like aquamarine kind of blue, and a little bit of navy. Very, very small, very, very subtle. And I think this is a little bit tweedy too, but then it's like a even more subtle tweed in this. It's like a black tweed, I believe. I don't know yet what I'm going to knit with them. I asked the staff there, which was super, super helpful. I just went into the store and she just approached me and wanted to introduce me to all the yarn, you know, like the weight, and the ingredients, the components of each type of yarn. Very, very helpful. And I asked her, like, what do you think I can knit out of 1 skein of it? And she said, well, you probably can knit a head out of 2 skein of this. So I bought 2 in different color. I don't know why. I think KPC is very, very famous for its very beautiful packaging. It's, instead of using a ball band, it has a ribbon and it has a card here. To be fair, I know a lot of people were like gushing about the packaging, but I'm not like big on packaging, you know. I'm fine with that. I'm not super crazy about it. And one thing I find it a little bit off is that it says it's a DK weight yarn, but I find that all yarn in that shop is thinner than, okay, for example, it says it's a worsted weight, but to me it definitely doesn't look like worsted weight. It's more like a DK, and a DK looks like a fingering weight, and think about how a fingering weight actually looks to me. Maybe they have their own system of classifying the weight of their yarn, or maybe this yarn just blooms when you knit with it, like it looks like sport weight or even fingering to me, but maybe it's like very versatile. When you knit with like a 4mm needles, it will look like it's DK. I'm not sure. I have not knit with it, but I'm definitely going to tell you more about it when I actually knit with it. But one good thing I really like about it is when I asked her, because she told me all of their merino yarn actually comes from a single farm in Australia that only provides wool to KPC Yarn. I asked about the ethical practice of them, and she immediately got that. She said, "Are you asking about if the sheep were milled?" And she confirmed that they don't do milsing, and in fact they can provide the certificate upon request. I didn't request for that, but that's a good thing, when a yarn brand is committed to eradicating milsing in an Australian farm, and also that they are very transparent about it. So that's it for the review and also for this episode, and I hope you have enjoyed this episode. And if you have stayed so long with me, please also subscribe, comment, or like if you have not done any. Or follow me on Instagram or join Ravelry group. There are so many ways to get connected. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys again in 2 weeks. Bye bye!